The topic for my research paper was the Stamp Act and its impact as the inciting incident in the beginning of the Revolutionary War. My research question revolved around why the Stamp Act affected the colony's policies and politics so much, and how did it serve as the inciting incident, and was it the primary inciting incident? My thesis statement was that the Stamp Act serves as one of the primary tipping points of starting the American Revolution because of why it was enacted, who enacted it, who was enraged by the act, and what steps the colonists took towards thwarting the act. My findings were found through drawing on primary and secondary sources to explain why the Stamp Act happened, who enacted it, what the resistance was, and what that resistance led to it. Edmund and Helen Morgan discuss in their book, The Stamp Act Crisis, Prologue to Revolution, that, quote, when George Grenville tightened up the administration of the Colonial Customs Service and revised the rates to make them produce a revenue, he knew that he was only beginning, that the colonies could and should, in his opinion, contribute more to the cost of their defense. This sentiment was popular in England, as many felt that Americans had been saved by the British troops during the French and Indian War, and that as a result these Americans would feel that the Stamp Act and tax would be understandable and reasonable. Andrew David Edwards describes the methodology and creation of the Stamp Act by Parliament in his article, Grenville's Silver Hammer, The Problem of Money in the Stamp Act Crisis, when he states that the taxes were designed to be light, spread evenly throughout the colonies, requiring anyone who participated in civil society, from graduating college students to lawyers writing a last will and testament, to pay a small fee to the British state. Yet despite Parliament's efforts at restraint, the act outraged many colonists. And now to the resistance. The resistance to the act was not limited to Virginia and Massachusetts, as is popularized by modern literature, but it eventually spread to other states, including North Carolina. Donna J. Spindle discusses in her article, Law and Disorder, the North Carolina Stamp Act Crisis, how, quote, active resistance to the Stamp Act in North Carolina began at Wilmington on October 19, 1765. A crowd of 500 people hanged in effigy, an unidentified gentleman who had expressed support of the new law, end quote. If the Stamp Act had not come out when it did, it leads to a question about whether the arguments about taxation with representation would have arisen in the same way, or stoked as many fires. The answer will never be fully known, but without the Stamp Act, it is certainly possible that there would not be America today as it is known. And therefore, the conclusion of this paper is that the Stamp Act was not just one of the primary tipping points, but it was the inciting incident behind the American Revolution and eventual American independence. Thank you.